Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing some Myutant Thunder Dragon test hands. I'm really excited this week guys, because this was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Dean. And this deck is a really amazing deck that combines two extremely interesting archetypes together in the form of your mutants and Thunder Dragons. This deck is a really fun deck because they have such good synergy together, banishing cards to get pluses and being able to special summon out some extremely powerful fusion monsters to your side of the field. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name to your single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron along with test hands. And definitely give Dean some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can pull off. I have some really interesting tech cards in this deck, and this deck is a really fun deck. I love how the synergy between these two decks work, because basically you're trying to banish your Thunder Dragons to get all sorts of different pluses and summon out your copy of your Thunder Dragon Titan, and be able to use the mutant monsters to summon out all sorts of different mutant monsters to be able to stop spells, traps, and monster effects, which is just really amazing. The really cool thing about this deck is when I've played Pure Mutant, it is a little bit difficult to summon out their most powerful boss monster, but in this deck, it's not actually that hard to summon in this particular build if you get the right setup. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for our test hands. We're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can pull off. So let's go ahead and cut the deck and see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Thunder Dragon Dark, a copy of ST46, another ST46, Dimensional Shifter, which is just really good and can turn off an entire game, and a copy of Thunder Dragon Fusion. So we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of D-Shifter right away, and now everything is being banished. I like to put a dice over my graveyard, just a cool little suggestion for you guys if you want to, because it will actually help you in the long run of things, because you're going to remember that all of your cards get banished. And the really cool thing about playing Dimensional Shifter in this deck is it not only benefits for us to be able to get our Thunder Dragons banished, but it also hurts the opponent's plays, because the majority of meta decks right now will actually want to go to the graveyard, and the majority of decks right now want to get their cards in the graveyard and not banished. So this totally shuts down every single deck that plays from the graveyard, which is why Dimensional Shifter is one of the most powerful hand traps right now. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon out the copy of ST46, and the effect of ST46 will let us add a mutant spell or trap from the deck to the hand. So important thing to keep in mind as you're playing this deck is a copy of MO5 searches monsters, and the copy of ST46 will actually add spells and traps. So I'm actually going to grab from the deck a copy of Mutant Cry, which is going to help me out a lot in the long term of things to let me fusion summon, or you can actually summon out or set to your side of the field a copy of the Mutant Expansion. It's totally up to you which one you grab. This will actually let you take a level 4 or lower mutant monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. It's totally up to you which one you grab. I will probably actually grab this card because I'm not going to get any more mutant monsters on my side of the field. It's kind of dependent on what you want to do with your particular setup. If you grab the copy of Mutant Cry, you can go in for one of their boss monsters, which is an option, or you can just grab the copy of the Mutant Expansion. Let's go ahead and grab Cry because we can actually get a little bit of a disruption against the opponent. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck. And now at this point, the really cool thing is both of your ST46 and your MO5 have similar effects at this point. So when they're on your side of the field, you can actually use them and tribute them on your side of the field, and then banish a card from your hand, either a monster, spell, or a trap, which we have all of those in our hand. And then you get to special summon a mutant boss monster from the deck, depending on which one you banish between monster, spell, or trap. You're usually going to want to banish monsters, which is why the Thunder Dragons have such synergy, because you get a plus when you banish them. So we're going to go ahead and tribute this monster, which will actually banish itself, and then banish the copy of Thunder Dragon Dark, which will get us a plus. So we're going to actually chain to it with the copy of the Thunder Dragon Dark, or you can just go ahead and special summon. It doesn't really matter. They're going to pretty much resolve at the same time, but the effect of the Thunder Dragon Dark lets you, if this card is banished, you get to add a Thunder Dragon card from your deck to your hand. Any Thunder Dragon card that you want, you can grab that card and add it directly from your deck to your hand. So we're going to go ahead and add the copy of our Thunder Dragon Roar. So Thunder Dragon Roar is one of the best cards to be able to grab because of your copies of your mutant cards, because it's going to get us all sorts of different special summons, and it's just a great card. So if we go ahead and set the copy of the, or actually, excuse me, we didn't even get the special summon. We're actually going to special summon out the copy of Mutant Beast. Mutant Beast is a really good card to start off with, because this card is going to help you out in the long term of things it's just really good because it has the ability to, it can't be special summoned except by mutant cards, and your opponent cannot target this card with monster effects, and you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. When your opponent activates a spell card, quick effect, you can banish a card from your hand or field, negate the activation of do banish that card, and this card's known as control, is destroyed by an opponent's card, then you can target a banished mutant, trap, and add it back to your hand, which is really cool because you have Mutant Cry that you can get you into some really good plays. So we're going to go ahead and set this card to our side of the field. And then you also have the copy of the Thunder Dragon Roar in the hand that you can discard this card to add to your hand one of your Thunder Dragon cards that's banished or in your graveyard. I like to just save it because I have more plays that I can go into later. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and pass over to the opponent, and you have the effect of the Mutant Beast that you can actually just banish this card to pop and negate a spell, because I don't want to get rid of either of these cards, so I'm playing a little bit more defensively with this particular setup. So we're going to go ahead and discard this card from our hand with the effect of the Mutant Beast when banish it, and once you actually do, you're going to negate the card, and the copy of Thunder Dragon Roar is going to let us special summon a card from the deck, which I like to usually special summon a copy of Thunder Dragon Hawk, because Hawk is going to help us out, because if it's banished or sent from the field to the graveyard, I can shuffle any number of cards from my hand into the deck and then draw additional cards, or you can special summon out your copy of your Thunder Dragon Matrix, which is going to get you even more plays during the following turn. It kind of depends on what you want to do with this particular setup. You can even search out your copy of your Thunder Dragon Dark and special summon that card to your side of the field, which is what I think I'm going to go with to get me additional searches. So we're going to go ahead and set this card to our side of the field and defense position, and once we do, we can actually use the copy of the Mutant Cry we have set face down once this card has used its effect, which has the ability that during the main phase you can fusion summon any mutant fusion monster from your X deck by shuffling the materials listed on from among cards on your field, graveyard, and or face up banished cards. So we have the copy of Beast and we have the copy of the ST46. So we can actually shuffle both of these back to the deck, and once we do, we actually are going to get to special summon out a copy of Mutant Synthesis, which is a really good boss monster. This card is really, really good, because if it is fusion summon, you can target a card on the field and just immediately destroy it, which is really good just to give you an additional pop on the field. I really like that effect. And then whenever your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can activate the effect. For the rest of the turn, this phase of card is unaffected by the effects of opponent's cards of the same type between monster, spell, or traps. So if your opponent's trying to get rid of this outside of battle, you can actually protect it from one card type, which is really, really good. And if it's fusion summon you control is destroyed by an opponent's card, then you get to add one of your banished mutant cards to your hand, which is just really good as well, because we actually can grab additional cards and just add them back, like the copy of Mutant Cry that we just activated. So we're going to summon that to our side of the field to give us a little bit added protection, and we have the copy of the Thunder Dragon Dark. So at this point we're going to pass back to us, and our copy of D-Shifter is turned off. Now you've probably turned off your opponent's turn. You've already popped a card and negated a card, which is really good, and we're going to draw into the copy of this card, which is super good. So once we're going to go ahead and normal summon the ST46 to our side of the field, and the ST46 will give us a search of another mutant spell or trap, which is totally up to you which one you actually grab. You can grab any of the ones that you need between the Mutant Evolution Lab, because when it's activated you can special summon a mutant level 4 or lower from your hand to your side of the field, but I usually only search that when I can get the draw effect of it. Or you can search out a copy of the Mutant Expansion or another copy of Mutant Cry. It's kind of up to you which one you grab. If you have multiple Thunder Dragons in your hand, I would totally grab the copy of Expansion because I can get more plays. But since I don't, I'm just going to grab a copy of Mutant Cry from the deck, because we do have all the different plays that we can actually go for, and go for an additional copy of Synthesis, because we have some really neat plays to roll into. And depending on what we actually banish off the copy of our Necroface, you can actually go in for even more plays. So we're going to add this from our deck to our hand and use the copy of the ST46 to banish, and then we're going to, or actually tribute, excuse me, because the D-Shifter is off, and we're going to banish the copy of the Necroface from our field. Now this will actually chain to it, so we're going to activate the copy of Necroface to banish 5 cards off the top of our deck and the top of our opponent's deck, which is really going to shut them down because we have multiple cards that are banished now. So we're going to go ahead and banish the top 5 of our deck face up, and we're going to banish the top 5 of our opponent's deck face up. So we're going to grab a copy of Expansion, Thunder Dragon Fusion, another Necroface, a Lure of Darkness, and a copy of the Evolution Lab. So the effects will actually resolve before the copy of Necroface will resolve. So we're going to summon out the copy of Mutant Beast from the deck, and then the other copy of Necroface will resolve, and we're going to be able to banish 5 more cards from the top of the deck because it couldn't chain as the chain was resolving. So we're going to go ahead and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is still pretty good because we're actually going to get the effect of the Thunder Dragon Matrix. And usually what you want to hit there with that particular play is a level 8 mutant monster, because at that point you could summon the Ultimus, which is how you actually will summon it to your side of the field. So at this point, we're actually going to grab a copy of Thunder Dragon Matrix from the deck, because when Matrix is banished, you can actually grab another copy of Matrix from the deck, and we have even more plays to roll into because we have multiple Thunder Dragon monsters banished. We have a copy of Matrix banished, we have a copy of Roar banished somewhere in here, and we have a copy of Dark banished. So you can actually use all 3 of these cards with the Thunder Dragon Fusion that you have in your hand to be able to fusion summon into a copy of the Thunder Dragon Titan, because this card has the ability that you can fusion summon a Thunder Fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling materials into your deck from among cards on the field, in the graveyard, or face-up banished cards. So we banished those 3 Thunder Dragon monsters, and we're going to put them back to be able to go in for even more plays, to be able to go into some crazy stuff. Now, the neat thing about this is you still have the copy of Mutant Cry, so you can summon out another copy of Synthesis by using the Synthesis on your side of the field, because they just have to be 2 different attributes, and both of these monsters are different attributes. So at this point, you can basically just go in for some attacks, and you have the copy of Matrix in the hand for the copy of Beast to go in again for an additional negation, and you have the copy of your Thunder Dragon Dark that, if you do want to, you can link summon in for additional plays, like summoning out the copy of the Cross Sheep first to be able to get you another special summon, but we don't even have anything to special summon from the graveyard. You can go in for stuff like Access Code or even Link Rebo later on, but that's pretty much to show you guys the main plays of the deck. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. And the really neat thing about this deck is this deck really does go into the grind game, which is what's really amazing. And the cool thing is if you actually would have banished a copy of one of the level 8 monsters instead of one of the other cards that we banished, you could actually go for Ultimus, which is really good for a boss monster for the mutant cards, which is, to me, from playing mutants, it's a little bit rare to actually summon that card to your side of the field. So it's really cool in a deck like this that you can actually summon it if you hit the right cards with your copies of Necroface, which is why I play them in this particular build. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can pull off for the next test hand. We're going to go ahead and draw. We're going to draw into a copy of Mutant Cry, a copy of Mutant Beast, ST46, Allure of Darkness, and a copy of Mutant Cry, which is not too bad because we have plenty of plays that we can go into. We're going to go ahead and normal summon that copy, ST46. ST46 will let us add a Mutant Spell or Trap from our deck to our hand, and at this point, I definitely would grab a copy of the Mutant Expansion because you already have Mutant Cry in the hand. So we're going to go ahead and grab that card from the deck, and we're going to set a couple of cards to our side of the field. You can Blind Allure if you want to, because a lot of your cards in this deck do want to be banished, so you have a lot of different plays that you could actually go for. So we're going to go ahead and use the effect of the ST46, and we're going to go ahead and banish a copy of one of the 2 Mutant Cries in our hand to be able to go in for additional plays, because at this point you can actually summon to your side of the field a copy of Mutant Mist, I believe, because this card has the ability that you're going to get to special summon out one of the 3. I usually go for Beast, but you can actually summon out Arsenal. Excuse me. Arsenal is really good because Arsenal is just going to give you all the different plays that you want, and it's, I believe, the biggest of the 3 because Arsenal is sitting at 3k, which is really big for this particular deck. I really like to summon Arsenal out to the field when I can, because it does have that 3k attack where Beast only has 24, but it also has a really neat effect that your opponent can't target it with trap cards, and you can only use the following effects of this card once per turn, that when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish one card from your opponent's hand or field, and then target a monster on the field and banish it. Or you can banish a card from your hand or field, and then target a monster on the field and banish it, which is pretty good. And then if this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, then you can target one of your banished mutant spells and add it back to your hand, which is pretty good for our particular setup. So at this point, you can set both of these on your side of the field, and you can Blind Allure if you want to. I usually do take the blind alert in this particular deck because usually it pays off, but at this point it doesn't, but that's okay because we actually got the Mutant Beast into the graveyard and we did thin the deck a little bit to go in for more plays. And the effect of the Thunder Dragon Matrix doesn't go off because it has to be sent from the field to the graveyard or banished, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it's okay because we don't need those plays anyways. I just wanted to get that copy of Mutant Beast out of my hand. So once we pop to the opponent and let them go ahead, you can actually use the effect of your Mutant Synthesis and be able to special summon a card from your deck if you want to, or you can actually just use the Mutant Cry to get you an additional play with this and fusion summon into another copy of Synthesis using one of your STs in the graveyard to be able to go into this card, and you've got already that interruption all over again. If you didn't blind alert or you hit with the alert, you could summon out an additional monster to your side of the field with the copy of Expansion. So let's go ahead and show you guys what you could do if you didn't blind alert and actually lose the blind alert. So we're going to go ahead and put that back. We had this in our hand and we had the copy of Arsenal on the field, which is going to help us out a lot. And we drew into these two cards in our deck. So we're going to put those two back on the top of the deck. And at this point, we're going to go in for a different play and we're going to pass over to the opponent. And once you actually pass over to the opponent, this was actually in the extra deck. We just had this card because we only did the one play of normal summoning, getting a search, and then banishing this to summon out the copy of Arsenal. So at this point, you can actually go a different route, and you can actually go in and pass against the opponent, and then activate the copy of the Mutant Expansion. And when you activate this card, you can take a level 4 or lower mutant monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it, which is really good just to get you those additional plays of getting a special summon. I really like that effect because I'm actually going to summon out a copy of MO5, which is really, really good. The only unfortunate thing is they're not quick effects, so you can't activate them during your opponent's turn, but you can get that MO5 on your side of the field because it's going to get you additional plays with your Mutant Cry, because you can actually shuffle cards from cards on the field or in the graveyard and they're face up from your banished if you want to, but it does give you that additional search of another mutant monster to go in for the next turn with a copy of the ST, which gets you even more plays. And then if you hold the copy of the blind allure or the allure, you can actually go in for additional plays during the following turn. Let's just say that this does get destroyed and we do protect the copy of the Arsenal with the copy of the Expansion, and we draw for turn, which is a copy of Thunder Dragon Dark, which is so much better with the copy of allure. We can actually drop that card if you want to, or you can just go ahead and go in for more plays with your setup, but it's totally up to you which way you go. I usually like to go for my additional setup first, so we're going to go ahead and go ST46. ST46 will get us a search from the deck of another mutant card, which we're going to add a copy of a Mutant Expansion from our deck to the hand, which is really good. And we're just going to immediately set that card to our side of the field. And then at this point, you can go in for the copy of the Allure, or you can use the copy of the ST46 to get the copy of Beast out of the hand to make sure that you don't draw into the card that you want to summon. So we're going to get rid of this copy of Beast and banish it, tribute this card on our side of the field to summon out a copy of Beast from the deck. We're going to shuffle up the deck really quick, and once we do, we can actually activate that copy of Allure, and we've already got the setup for the Ultimus if we want to summon that card. So we're going to draw 2 additional cards from the deck. We actually drew better than what we were going to hit with the copy of the Thunder Dragon Dark. So we can actually get rid of Roar, and Roar will banish and activate because Allure just immediately activates them. I love Allure in this deck. And what it does is you can special summon a Thunder Dragon monster from the deck in defense position, which is going to help us out a lot because at this point you can kind of pick and choose what you want to summon to your side of the field. You can summon out a copy of Hawk or a copy of Dark. It's totally up to you. I like to summon out Hawk to my side of the field because it gives me an additional card out of the hand or out of the deck. But at this point, you can use the copy of the Thunder Dragon Dark to get us a copy of Matrix because it lets us discard this card, add a Thunder Dragon card from our deck to our hand. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. And you can actually activate this card and grab a copy of our Thunder Dragon Fusion if you want to shuffle back cards from your field or in your graveyard and or face up banished cards to be able to summon out a copy of Titan in just a second. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck. And once you shuffle up the deck, you're going to activate that copy of your set Mutant Cry. And since we have all those different monsters, you can actually summon out the Ultimus, which is really good because this card has the ability that when this card is summoned to your field, it just requires 3 level 8 or higher mutant monsters. So you can go ahead and use these 3 that we have on the field and in the graveyard, shuffle those cards back into the deck, and once you shuffle them back into the deck, you can just immediately summon out the copy of Ultimus, which is really weird to actually summon this card, but in this deck, it's super easy. Now, the cool thing at this point is you can activate the Thunder Dragon Fusion, and since we have Thunder Dragons in the grave and that are banished, since we have 3, you can actually use the copy of Roar, Dark, and Hawk, which is really cool. Definitely give me a like for using all 3 of the newish Thunder Dragon cards. Shuffle those back into the deck. And once you do, you're going to summon out your copy of Thunder Dragon Titan. So now we have Titan on our side of the field, and we have the copy of Ultimus on the side of the field, so we have a negate, and we have this card on our side of the field that's just going to get additional plays, and we have the copy of Mutant Expansion that on the next turn we're going to summon out a Beast, which is really good. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for one last quick test hand, because as you guys can see, this deck is super consistent. I love the way that it plays. It's a really fun deck, and it's super easy to understand, because basically you're just banishing all of your Thunder Dragon monsters. You never want to summon them to the field. You really just want to get them banished off of card effects. If you do summon them to the field, you're going to just immediately fusion summon with them with Thunder Dragon Fusion, and you're basically just using your mutant monsters as big monsters to summon to your side of the field to go in for games. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and draw for turn, which is an ST46. ST46, MO5, I thought I just drew 3 copies of ST46, Arsenal, and a copy of D-Shifter. This is already really good. Use the D-Shifter. This is going to be a very simple setup. Use the copy of D-Shifter, and once you do, you can either normal summon out the copy of MO5 or the copy of our ST46. Always summon ST46 because you're going to get that copy of Mutant Cry from the deck. We're going to grab Mutant Cry, and then you're immediately going to use this with your copy of Arsenal, banish the copy of Arsenal, and then tribute the copy of our ST46. And then the ST46 is going to let us special summon out a copy of Beast, and then you've already got your setup again for Synthesis, and that's pretty much the basic play of the deck, and you already have a setup with these 2 cards in your hand. So if we do draw into the next turn, we're going to draw into a copy of Hawk, and then you have even more plays where you can discard the copy of Hawk to special summon a Thunder Dragon monster that's banished or in the graveyard when you do get it banished or in the graveyard, and you can use your copy of your ST46 and Beast to summon out a copy of Synthesis, which is really good, and you can even use the copy of the ST46 to get you a search, and then the copy of Hawk as your material to summon out another copy of Beast from the deck, and then you're going to get to mulligan the cards in your hand to get you a draw 2. So you have a lot of different plays in this deck to go into, and I'm so glad that I actually got to show these to you guys because this deck is super fun. I really love the way that it plays, and the copy of D-Shifter is just such a plus in this deck. I love D-Shifter in this deck, and I do something with this deck. If you guys want to check out the deck profile, it's down there in the description down below. I do something a little bit different in mine. I actually do play all of the boss monsters between the mutant cards because I want to maximize on them a little bit. They are a little bit bricked when you draw into them, which is why I play the field spell to get them back into the deck. But these are really good in the deck because you can actually use them to summon out the big boss monster, which this card is just insane because it's basically a humongous Macabre, which is what's really cool. So that's going to do it for these test hands, guys. I hope you did enjoy the deck. It's a really fun deck. Thank you so much, Dean, for actually suggesting this one. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.